busted in. We broke down the door, we came to win. TLA season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.
Thank you for visiting 32 Kings Road, hosted by the League Ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is season 4 of our podcast, 32 Kings Road, episode 1. And on today's show, we'll be sipping on some brand new segments. We've got the hottest tea in the world of the NFL, including the latest news on how the owners want to extend the NFL season. But as a reminder, follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Also, please subscribe to and follow us on our YouTube channel, The League Ambassadors. Visit our website, theleagueam.com. Shout out to Chief Diplomat Nick Blackman, who holds down our on-site blog spot, Diplomatic Immunity, the place where you, fans of all creeds, colors, and kinds, can say what you want to say, and we'll put it on our site and shout you out on our social media. Also, special announcement, if you are an iPhone user, please go ahead and download the app Station Head. Beginning next week, we will be live streaming to that application. But first, let's get into our show. Junior Blue, good to see you, sir. What you sipping on?
Sipping on this Stella. I'm keeping it light today. And I'm also sipping on the fact that last year, on our first episode, the Raiders were a laughingstock. This year, we got the whole league intrigued. And that's what I'm sipping on.
Dad, what you sipping on, sir?
I'm now sipping on Flint, Michigan water. I'm sipping on the misadventures of one Boogie Cousins. He's been having a bad year. 2 injuries. First time he's really in the playoffs. They don't win the ship. Gets to the Lakers. His dreams landing spot. Tears his ACL. Then things are supposed to, become happy. He's about to get married. He has a bit of an argument with his baby moms who won't allow him to let his son attend his own wedding. And this vindictive heifer recorded it.
You added an R this time.
Shit is real. And got him on tape, basically saying that he's going to make sure he puts a bullet through her fucking head. And it's been all over TMZ today. So check on your strong friends.
Redo, help us.
I am.
We have never said that before.
Man, I'm sipping on a little Oak Heart rum. And I am also sipping on the fact that I have been inspired by this weekend's events. And I just want to tell everybody I can no longer sacrifice my body without getting paid. And I'm tired of showing up to the show in pain. So I retire.
Well, at least we'll end on time. Oh my, I love you. All right, so I'm sipping on the rest of this Apple Crown, this handle. This all mine. It's gonna be my last drink until football season is official.
Nice.
But I'm sipping on to actually piggyback off of the brother Redo. I personally would like to ask the Indianapolis fans, just specifically the ones who booed, how they feel after something that they loved, that they thought was theirs, just decided in the middle of the night to just get up with no warning and leave them fucking hanging. How does it feel?
Give us free.
That also came from a personal place, huh, Ken?
Oh yes.
Brothers Johnson.
This season is definitely personal.
Well, let's keep on that personal theme. I'm sipping on a particular news story that we're going to dive into. And that news story is Roc Nation, the entertainment company founded by rapper and businessman Sean JayZ Carter, is entering into a multi-year partnership with the NFL to enhance the NFL's live game experiences and to amplify the league's social justice efforts. As part of the agreement, Rock Nation will advise on the selection of artists for major NFL performances like the Super Bowl. A major component of the partnership will be to nurture and strengthen community through football and music, including through the NFL's Inspire Change initiative. With its global reach, the National Football League has the platform and opportunity to inspire change across the country, Carter said in a press release. Rock Nation has shown that entertainment and enacting change are not mutually exclusive ideas. Instead, we unify them. This partnership is an opportunity to strengthen the fabric of communities across America. So as I sip on my Oak Heart, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Ambassador Dad. How did you feel initially when you heard this story?
After knowing what he said on the song "Ape Shit" the year prior, which I believe is "I said no to the Super Bowl. You need me, I don't need you." I wasn't sure where this was going. I'm also aware of his recent history with working with criminal justice reform with Meek and Robert Kraft to a certain extent. So I personally, I really wanted to withhold my judgment until I knew more. I didn't want to jump one way or another. I mean, I know in this day and age, again, nuance is dead. It's either black or white. But for me, I took that stance.
Okay. Junior Blue, how did you feel?
I was caught off guard at first, but similar to Dev, I mean, I know what JayZ has done in the past, and not even recently, years back in the past, as far as social injustice is concerned. So when I heard it, I was like, what's he gonna do? You know, what is his plan? We haven't heard a plan, but for the fact that knowing what JayZ has done in the past, in the light and in the dark, as far as stuff that we don't hear about,
right?
I still have to think that that's his plan. He's gonna carry that on.
Okay. Kev, how did you feel?
Yeah, I guess we'll make it a hat trick. I mean, I was initially shocked when I first heard it. I wanted to make sure it was correct. But then right at that moment, my thought was, okay, this is JayZ, who is a businessman. As you stated, the NFL, which is one of the biggest businesses in the country. I mean, this is business 101. If you look at it from just look at the SWOT analysis, right? You got the NFL who has a weakness and wants to turn it into an opportunity. You have JayZ who has the opportunity and wants to turn it into a strength. So I took the same approach. I felt like even when I first heard it, and even to this point, I want to hear more information, more of the details. But I kind of have to ask, did anyone else actually watch the full 45-minute press conference?
Yeah.
Because
yes.
Okay, because I only asked because I felt completely different about the whole thing after watching that, as opposed to the 30, 45-second clips that got put on the internet. And although it didn't necessarily provide all the details we wanted at this point, it really did answer a lot of questions that I had when I first heard about it. So again, I think we got to give it time to play out.
So to stay there before I go to Red O and his initial feelings, what was the biggest question that you felt like that press conference answered for you?
Was when JayZ said that when he first met with Goodell, he said, if you think that I'm here to just perform during the Super Bowl, then I'm going to get back up and leave. Like, this is not about me performing. This isn't even mainly about me providing entertainment. It's more so about the NFL's involvement or their dedication to changing the consciousness and the stigma that's been around the league. And having someone actually say that, again, it needs to actually happen in practice. But to hear it be said, like, no, this is not what this is about. It's a part of it, but it's not what's most important. That was nice to hear, but we actually have to see it play out now.
Red O, your initial thoughts?
My initial thought was that Hov was tripping. That it was, what the fuck are you doing? At first I wondered, was Cap involved? Then you find out he's not involved. Then I wonder, okay, did he talk to Cap? You find out they didn't. So my initial response was, and y'all know I'm the biggest JayZ fucking fan they got. But my initial thought was, what the fuck are you doing?
And you felt that way because
because one, he's smarter than that. And I didn't like how he approached the "we passed kneeling" thing. I thought that was something he shouldn't have said. I don't think it was asinine to me. But that, like I said before, that's from him.
Was that with full context though, or just a snippet?
No, that was
He
just a
shouldn't have
snippet.
said it.
Did you hear the question
He
that was
shouldn't
asked,
have
though?
said it. You gotta understand something. Hov has done that his whole rap career. It's always been okay. Now we pass jerseys. Now we pass auto tune. That's JayZ's thing. He shouldn't have did that. He shouldn't have approached it in the hip hop way.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, because
that's
Right.
my opinion. And I think I understand what he's doing. Again, I understand what he's doing. I don't like how he did it. And I don't like how he let them get away with it.
So you say that you understand what he's doing, yet I have 3 guys, before even interjecting myself, that say, I want to see what he's doing. What is it that you understand that he's doing?
One, like I said, I don't like how he allowed them to get away. The one thing that should have never been done was sign on anything until the NFL acknowledges that what they did, that Cap was not kneeling for, it wasn't anything to do with the flag, because they let that thing perpetrate, and they let the hate flow for Cap because the president jumped in and all that good stuff. They knew what it was about, and they let it perpetrate. They let all these feelings and everything boil up. One, they should have acknowledged what the real was. If you want me to do this, you have to acknowledge what you did, even if you
so you're
say
saying cop to collusion.
cop to whatever. That you white balling Cap. We know this, but you can't make anybody sign Cap. I get that, but as long as there's some acknowledgement that what was done, then we can start to move on.
How do you expect the NFL to do that?
Kind of sounds like the beginnings of a reparations conversation when you talk about the first step being acknowledgement. But Devin, your point is that how do you expect the NFL to
okay, so in the press conference, Goodell says any team is free to sign or whatever, and you kind of put the onus on the owners. How do you get them to say yes, we colluded? I mean, I don't even know if they can speak on it because there was some sort of an arrangement, if I'm mistaken.
the settlement? Yeah,
There was a
there's
settlement.
They don't have to say they colluded. There can be an acknowledgement that this shit shouldn't have went the way it went. There can be
But wasn't the
something.
deal and the payment the acknowledgement to an extent?
They didn't acknowledge anything. All they did was
Make it go away.
They made it went away, and it was arbitration. Like it was, he had 2 choices: take this money or get nothing. That was what because it was arbitration. He doesn't have any other choices, because if you're an employee of the NFL, you can't sue the NFL. Your only option is arbitration.
Well, Kenyon, how do you feel?
Well, my initial thought was, I don't reference the Bible much on this show.
It's a lie. Just as much as I do.
But
Well,
there's a Bible verse that talks about not letting your good be evil spoken of. So my first thought was, wow, JayZ definitely has the capacity to, move the conversation forward in terms of not only bringing attention to social justice, but actually having the capacity to make a difference. And in fact, as Les alluded to, that's in his track record. But given what Devin mentioned, which is that, he had a song where he explicitly called out the NFL and said that he didn't need them. He was one of the big black celebrities, and celebrities period, that was outwardly supporting Colin Kaepernick.
Mhm.
It created a situation where something that could potentially be good is being thought of in an evil spotlight. And I am all about appearances. I'm all about
Which he said he's not.
Yeah, but he is though.
he is.
He's more about the action.
100%. This, in fact, this whole deal is about that. So I was disappointed from that standpoint. And I mean, quite frankly, it does appear as if the ultimate chess player, who JayZ, if you study or know and understand hip hop culture, particularly when it comes to battle situations and responding, JayZ is an ultimate chess player. And it appears as if the ultimate chess player is now being used as a pawn by the NFL. Because the truth of the matter is this: JayZ doesn't need the NFL to make a difference in social justice. If he wants to all of a sudden become one of the new day pioneers for the movement in terms of making a difference in inner cities across America, there's nothing that the NFL, there's no opportunity that the NFL could afford to him to be able to do that. Having said that, and this is another question that I put to you guys, one of the arguments or one of the points that comes out of this discussion is that, well, JayZ now has a seat at the proverbial table of the NFL. And the fact that one of us, which I take issue with because I don't believe that JayZ is outside of his ethnicity and outside of where his background, I wouldn't consider that Sean Carter is one of us. He's a billionaire. But what about this argument that one of us now has a seat at the table and that because he's there, we should expect and assume that that's going to create opportunities for others, whether that be at an executive level or an ownership level, or some have even suggested that somehow, you know, if he is afforded an opportunity to be an owner, which was something that kind of went out and then it got quickly debunked, which made total sense to me because I don't ever see that happening, but that maybe Colin Kaepernick would get his job back. What about this seat at the table argument?
Have everybody seen John Wick 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, the whole theme of the movie was I have served and I am of service, and no one is above the table. Everyone else is below the table. He's not getting a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
The only majority owners get seats at the table.
Right.
And that's not something I don't believe he will ever be. So at the best, he's a consultant. He's an employee.
Yeah.
So he's not at the table. That's a fallacy. And again, the NFL wins again because the perception with black people is he got a seat at the table, which is bullshit.
Is there anybody that actually has a different opinion?
Yes.
Okay.
And I say that because I don't think this is a universal, this type of thinking doesn't apply universally. I think it's a case by case basis. We had the same kind of conversation about the Players Coalition last year. But I think in this instance, I think that the partnership, at least with Roc Nation partnering with the NFL for entertainment, and then JayZ kind of heading the social justice, I actually hate that term because it doesn't sound like anything, but could be a step in the right direction. Not necessarily him being an owner doesn't make this a zero-sum game. Like you throw out any type of progress in any other instance. I just think that's foolish, especially coming from people who, let's be frank, are not in that position. So someone who can get in that room that can either change the idea or, like I said earlier, the consciousness of the NFL, I think it's important. And at the end of the day, I kind of disagree with what you said earlier, Kenyon, about him using other platforms. Yes, he can, but at the end of the day, he is an entertainer who owns an agency that represents artists who could perform at NFL events and also represents players who play in the NFL. I mean, I feel like as long as that dynamic exists, then yes, he has skin in the game and can make a difference, whether it be 2 or 3 items, it's better than 0. And to sit there and say, well, he's not covering all 26 letters of the alphabet. Okay, if you get a third of them or half of them, it's better than where things were yesterday. And again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm defending it or I'm supporting it.
It does.
I'm just saying I think it's foolish. I think it's very foolish to A, have not watched the entire thing and form an opinion that drastic, and then B, someone who has a track record of doing this before. Kenyon, you talked about appearances. Does anyone remember the title rollout? How everyone criticized that for, how can artists demand a bigger piece of the pie? How can they demand their masters? And called it foolish, called it selfish. Now look at it now. So I think we have to give things time to play out, and we can't look at everything like a zero-sum game. Someone
Apples
who
and
has a
oranges.
track record of making progress deserves that time.
That was apples and
Yeah, I
oranges.
wouldn't compare the title rollout to this, number one. Number two, I don't
But it's the same reaction.
personally.
It's the same
I
reaction.
mean, I can't control the public's reaction, but we can look at
Totally
the two
different
issues and they're two
situation.
different situations. The second thing is that I don't think managing or representing artists or even managing or representing players has anything to do with wanting to create and enact a social agenda that addresses cops killing minorities or that addresses the economic disparity that exist in America today. I don't think one has anything to do with the other.
Well, some of the things that he brought up within the press conference, and again, we need to see this come to fruition. We need to see the action. But what he did say was, and he even joked about, he kept using Chance's name. Chance the Rapper, if his thing is education, then they can use these resources here to funnel shit to help Chance with the stuff in Chicago with education. So again, like you said, how do the artists affect any sort of change? We can start with education. So let's see if that kind of stuff plays out. For me, as far as having a seat at the table, what's funny about
Shit
that?
is wild, man. These motherfuckers are openly supporting the motherfucking president. How you working with these motherfuckers?
What the hell does that have to do with anything?
They supporting white supremacy.
My
This
question
shit
is this:
crazy to
if
me,
he
man.
does do
This shit is
something,
insane.
if he does something,
Yeah.
you
he
care
can
that
do
they
it
support
without
him?
them. He can do it without
But
them.
it puts him on a bigger platform.
Yeah, because that was my
There's
argument.
just as many people
What?
he could have did to get a bigger platform, to get a big platform.
Yeah, yeah. And
These
hold on.
motherfuckers are working with white supremacists. Fuck that.
So hold on. What I do
shit
take
is wild,
real quick,
man.
what I do take issue with, and I mean, I feel like he could have done things differently. I'm not as vociferous in my disagreement as Brother Omar is, but it doesn't make sense to me when you say a bigger platform. You're a billionaire. You're a worldwide entertainer.
Married to one of the biggest artists in the world.
Yeah, like platform.
That's still nowhere close to the NFL and the reach the NFL has.
Exactly.
How much are they
Nowhere
giving him?
close.
I don't know how much
Like,
they give. How much they give?
I guarantee you, if he put his mind to it, he could have got just as many people to give just as much money as the NFL is ever going to give him and get it done.
I think that without this playing out at all, it's kind of short-sighted to just dub it that. But going back to the question that you asked, I've never felt like the seat at the table was something for us. I think we needed our own fucking table. But in order to do that,
Can't be an employee.
Tariq Cohen can't play for the NFL. AB needs to stop playing. If we're going to do it. But they are still cashing checks and they're still playing the game.
That's a fallacy. That's a fallacy.
Yeah, I mean,
You can
we're
really,
gonna keep it
you
a
don't,
buck.
you
We
don't,
have-
that's a fallacy.
You can't have it both
Because
ways.
You don't need the NFL to create your own platform.
Well, that's where
he
this
can
whole
be
conversation started.
Tariq Cohen can be a running back.
That's how this whole conversation started, though. It started with Cap trying to bring attention to social injustice,
Who's not a part of the conversation anymore.
which is, I mean, come on now.
Which I want
Which is
to.
another question.
Well, it is. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. Which is where I want to go next. The one thing I want to say to what you just said about guys still playing in the NFL, because I was actually privy to another conversation around this subject matter, and Eric Reed was somebody that was brought up and was kind of talked about. And the one thing about professional football players or NFL players is that unlike most other people, there isn't another professional situation that they can go to, right? So when you say, and listen, doesn't mean that there aren't times where, if you feel called or if you feel like, compelled to really take a stand, means that you may have to make the ultimate, some ultimate sacrifices up to and including your life. But for these players, at least, it's not like there's another league that they can go to where they can make money. So when someone like Eric Reed is still kneeling, is still lashing out, and it's like, well, you're still cashing NFL checks. Well, it's like, well, where else is he gonna go?
Right, but going back, your point right there, when he says how is he working with them because they're in bed with white supremacists.
He's not
what's
an
the
NFL
difference?
player.
Yeah, he's not. He isn't an NFL player.
No, but you can't have it both ways though.
I don't know that I see it as both ways, but I do want to go to the Kaepernick question because for a lot of people, and maybe even I think Omar's kind of touched on it now, they feel like a big part of the issue is that JayZ didn't involve Kaepernick as part of this. And I think one of the messages that JayZ was trying to get out in that press conference was that Kaepernick did what he did. We understand why he did what he did, but now what's next? The question I have for you guys, and I want to go round robin, I'll start with you, Kevin, is the Colin Kaepernick story relevant to this story? Is there a relevance there? Are they seen as two separate stories?
I think, of course, they're related, but I don't think one has to stop or start depending on the other. I mean, I love and support Colin Kaepernick, everything he did, but I haven't heard the motherfucker's voice
Exactly.
since he was in the NFL locker room.
'Cause
And that's
you're
no
not paying
criticism
attention.
of him. I love the fact that he's active and he's letting his work speak for itself. But I mean, we talked about this just last year. How many people in the room said that they didn't think he would be or would be effective on an NFL team? And my assumption was you signed that deal with the NFL. My thought was he wasn't going to play again. So whether or not Jay reached out to him or not, whether that actually happened, I would love to see him be a part of this. But if he isn't by choice or by not, I think it should still continue.
Redo, is the Colin Kaepernick angle relevant to this story?
And it is relevant because, again, none of this is happening without Colin Kaepernick. So JayZ's not involved in this without Colin Kaepernick. None of it is happening without Colin Kaepernick. And JayZ strolls in and tells everybody we passed Colin Kaepernick.
That's not what he said.
Exactly.
It's not what he said.
That's
what
ba-
he said.
it's his actions.
No.
What is
Yeah,
Colin?
yeah.
It's his actions. Colin Kaepernick is not involved, is he? He didn't take the NFL to task for doing what they did to Colin Kaepernick.
Is that his job?
So he was the
didn't
one. He
watch
was
it.
behind Colin Kaepernick until they decided to pay him. So
And you said you watched the whole thing, right?
Oh my God.
No,
He
I'm
did
saying-
watch it. I can tell by what he's
Yeah.
saying
Oh my God.
because I thought the same thing until
All right.
I watched it. Take
Okay.
45 minutes
So
out your day
again,
and watch
no one. If you can say what you want about what you're saying. Again, my opinion is there is no way JayZ should have done what he did without something from the NFL at the very least acknowledging to the public what was going on with Colin Kaepernick. You can't make somebody hire Colin Kaepernick. You can't make JayZ let Colin Kaepernick run it. But the NFL, in the end, gets away with what they did because JayZ did not take them to task for doing it. Because he said it's time to move on.
Dad,
Well, you could say the same thing about the other players and fans and even people who sit around wearing Chicago Bears hats during an NFL podcast calling other people sellouts. Like, come on, that's ass backwards.
That's your opinion that it's ass backwards. It's not mine.
Devin, is the Colin Kaepernick story relevant
I don't give a
to
fuck.
this story?
I think it's nuanced. It's yes and no. I think yes, as he is the one to help shed the light on the issue by starting with sitting, and then it went to kneeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then no, also because him having a job to me actually isn't paramount to the issue that he brought up in the first place, why he was protesting. So I think that's kind of where it is.
Junior Blue?
Same as Dad, because basically I looked at it like this. When you had Kaepernick kneeling, he brought, just like JayZ said, he brought light to it. He asked the people in the room. He brought light to the social injustices, right? So now what do we do? Because if Kaepernick's on a team and he's still kneeling, it's not stopping a motherfucker from getting killed by a police officer. Right? So that's what my concern is. Kaepernick get a job, he don't get a job. He's fine, right? If my son grows up and doesn't do shit and gets killed by a fucking police officer because we were worried about if fucking Kaepernick has a job, I got a problem with that.
Y'all conflating arguments.
I don't see that.
Final question, and we'll get out of here. And this is actually apropos for this moment. And this question in particular is something that really, I often, when there are conversations like this, I come back to, and that is this: is this debate, this discussion that has happened even here in this moment, is this public divide productive for us as a people?
Not at all. And it never
No.
will be.
Absolutely not. Look at the kneeling. They took the issue of him protesting about police brutality and turned it into about the flag. It's whatever the
But that
strategy-
that wasn't internal though. Like
No.
the
but
question I'm
that's-
asking is specific
it's
about
dividing.
us as blacks.
No, but I'm saying
Black
like
Americans.
well, I'm agreeing. Yes, because look at that.
Okay.
Like using that as the example.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you start to have players like Kenny Stills, Malcolm Jenkins, and then rappers like Freddie Gibbs choosing sides, not even knowing the whole argument again, I think that's detrimental to the cause. That's always been our biggest issue
Freddie
coming
took
together.
that shit back though.
But initially, because he didn't have the details, that's the first thing that came out of his mouth. So
I think it's possible, though, to be clear, and I just want to say this, I think it's possible to have the full details, have the full context, and still disagree.
Right, but they did that without. without that. That's my if you legitimately have all the details and you still come to that conclusion, then hey, I can't
honestly,
I
I
can't do
don't
anything.
think all the details are there.
It's not because the works. I mean, it's actionable items. We have to see those things come to fruition. I think those short snippets, tweets, not in context, are dangerous because we are people that consume things in a very short-sighted kind of way. I mean, we have this phone right here where we can just look at things and oh shit, JayZ did this, and it's like you form an opinion based off of that. So that's a form of dividing us, and we're being distracted. Like all these things are going on, and we're talking about the chicken beef of 2019 when other shit's going on because that's another thing to kind of throw a monkey wrench in it to divide it. So we got people arguing over who's right or who's wrong, or whose side you're on, as opposed to actually doing something to the cause.
Redo?
It's not bad for anybody because discourse is important. Everything we do, that shit goes back to slave fucking mentality where we gotta be this in public. We gotta be that. We not monolithic. We can just fucking agree. We can get on TV. We can get on podcasts and disagree and yell and loud, and it ain't nothing
Like
wrong
right
with
now.
it because we ain't different from nobody else. Why everybody else can do it but we can't? That shit is stupid to me. That is something that is built into us by generations, as if we can't disagree because
So,
we gotta be
It's not
we
the
gotta be
disagree-
together
It's
in
not the
public.
disagreeing part.
That was the
It's-
question.
But the thing about it is
Dividing.
those people come together when it's about gaining power, right? They come together when it's about gaining power. Think about the people you were talking about. They come together when it's about that.
Okay.
We don't. We fight each other until we in the same place we've always fucking been.
Okay, so if I don't agree one bit with what this man did, right? Just being, because I agree some parts, I don't agree with most of it. But if I didn't agree with one bit, I'm supposed to shut up and not talk about it because we supposed to come together about it.
That's not what he's saying.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
Yeah,
is
but okay. But I heard you. This notion of coming to power. Who's coming to power though? Because all I see in this situation is I see JayZ coming to power because we
Enriching
know
himself.
We know that millions are coming either directly to him or to his business. So in this instance, who's coming to power?
as far as JayZ is concerned, I don't give a fuck how much money he gets. That is not a concern of mine.
Right.
My concern is what the fuck he's gonna do with the position. That's why I reserved my opinion about it because I don't know what he's gonna do. I can't come over here and say fuck JayZ because he didn't talk to Kaepernick. I can't do that because I don't know what he's gonna do.
He said he did speak to Cap and
And
the dude asked him about the conversations. I'm not going to reveal what me. and
But that's what I'm
Kaepernick
saying.
talked about.
I can't do that until I see what happens. Now, if it's 5 years down the line and the NFL is still doing nothing, or if it's 2 years down the line and we don't see anything, now my opinion is going to change. I'm going to say it's a money grab, but I can't say that today because I don't know.
The NFL is doing something now. They've already given $90 million. The only thing JayZ did was bring a face to it to bring black folks along.
So you don't think he's going to bring anything extra to it?
Oh,
He's just
yeah,
lying
it's
his pocket.
JayZ. He's a smart dude, and he's pro-black, and he has always been about bringing black people up. But he's also always been about enriching himself. And all things being equal, just because he does one thing, don't mean you can't talk about the other. All can be true.
But I don't have, like I said, I don't have a problem with him making money. If I can make $2 million, but I make you $1 million,
My point is, in the end,
I'm
the
not counting your pockets, brother.
NFL looks better,
like.
and that was all they cared about.
Well,
Kevin,
to
let's
answer
let's land the plane right here, Kev.
To answer your question, although I do agree with everything Les said, to answer your question, I kind of agree with Omar in the sense that to expect everyone to feel the same or to all be on the same bandwagon, especially black people. Again, I hate that question because, like Omar said, we are not a monolith. We don't all think and feel the same. But I strongly believe that as long as there are black players or players who agree with Colin Kaepernick in the league, there are coaches, there are people buying Madden. If you're putting a football in your son's hand, if you're filming an NFL podcast, then yes, we still have skin in this game. And having someone who has a track record of, I'm not defending it because I don't know enough to feel one way or the other. But what I will say is someone who has done this before and who spoke about, hey, as much as we love and applaud what the NBA is doing, you guys remember a time when they had a dress code basically banning black and hip hop culture, that shit had to change. So I'm not giving the NFL an out here, but I do feel like that the things that we've complained about people having equity in the Super Bowl, how Super Bowl performances are being chosen, how decisions are being made in these rooms. Like you go back and watch our social studies episode, we talked about the Players Coalition. This is what we asked for. And then when we have it, we complain about it. So to me, the real divide is either people who are doing shit or people who talk about people who are doing shit. So either you get up and do it, or you sit around and give a fuck about what Funk Flex posts on his Instagram. Like something has to be done. There's no one way to skin a cat. Omar, like you said, you can say one thing, do another, but we have to be doing something to move the ball forward. And sitting back, complaining about people doing shit while we aren't, doesn't solve anybody's problem.
And that's how you start a fucking season, right?
So in the spirit of doing something, and in acknowledgement of the relationship between Mr. Sean Carter and the NFL, we've got a new segment. It's called the S. Carter Collections. Junior Blue, take it away.
Well, in this section here, we're going to pick a JayZ song, and then we're going to apply it to something that's going on in the NFL, since obviously JayZ is going to be a big part of this season. So the first one is kind of near and dear to my heart because it's dealing with my Oakland Raiders and their brand new wide receiver, Antonio Brown.
He ain't acting brand new.
Because he sure didn't want a brand new helmet. But this man, you wanted a 11-year-old shoot air helmet. And the NFL said no. You can't have it because it's not safe enough for you, which you would think we would all want, because I think we all saw that perfect hit against him, and he might have wanted something better on his head at that point. But JayZ had a song called Brush the Dirt Off Your Shoulders, right? Well, what this man did was he lost 2 grievances, and what he's doing is turning that into millions, as he's in negotiations now to get an endorsement deal for a new helmet.
Won't he do it?
So that's brushing your shoulders off and securing the bag. My question for y'all is, did any of y'all think
Talk
he was
to him,
about
Les.
to... did any of y'all think he was about to retire over this helmet?
Nah.
With $24 million on the line?
Hell nah.
Because what was his signing bonus?
24. Like,
No,
he
$1
wasn't
million.
stopping.
His signing bonus was $1 million.
He got to play to get that
He got
money.
to play to get the rest of that money. I just want to pause right here and just say, man, I'm pretty sure this is the most Les has ever talked in the history of the league ambassadors.
You know, sometimes
Talk
you gotta
your
go
shit,
there.
Les.
Sometimes you gotta go there.
All
Hey,
right.
Les, Les, real quick, you know what I think this was? It reminded me a lot of the shit Ed Reed used to do in his last 3 or 4 years in Baltimore, where he didn't want to participate or attend training camp.
Yep.
Just bullshit his way to the regular season. I think that's what
he could at
AB
least
is
kept
doing.
the skin on his feet, though.
Yeah, he didn't have to circumcise his feet.
Yeah.
All right.
That's true.
We got a second new segment. Dad, take it away.
We just full of surprises today. You never know what might fucking happen. So
Somebody gonna pull their pants off.
somebody already did it.
Player 99.
So we have this new segment called The Rabbit Hole. And
Yes.
as we are all aware, social media is everywhere. You can't escape it. And because it's everywhere, that means that you can use it and you can comment on stuff. The most despicable place on the internet is the comment section on Facebook, Twitter replies, and sports forums. In this segment, we will highlight posts made on social media, made by people in the sport, and the crazy comment section that you'll find going down the rabbit hole. Our first entry in our 32 Kings Road edition of the rabbit hole involves the devastating bomb that was dropped on the city of Indianapolis.
Like Mayflower trucks.
When Colts quarterback
Came and moved him out.
Andrew Luck announced his retirement from football at the age of 29 due to health reasons. Now, this is something that was discussed internally for a couple of weeks, but it was leaked out during their preseason game against the Chicago Bears.
Yikes.
Fans started checking Twitter feeds
In the stadium.
in the middle of the game, and he was sitting on the sideline.
There was a discernible murmur.
I would say a boo even. So emotions were very high. Social media was on fucking fire on Saturday night. especially Twitter. So today we want to start by, we want to highlight one specific tweet sent by Mr. Doug Gottlieb on Fox Sports. And if you're not familiar with Doug, he was a decent college basketball player.
Oh, Dougie.
And he had a Twitter beef earlier this year with one Stephon Marbury talking shit about New York basketball players. Let's just say Twitter was here for Doug's shit. Mike, can you go ahead and put the tweets up there for me? Thank you very much. So, Mr. Doug Gottlieb said, retiring cause rehabbing is too hard is the most millennial thing ever. # Andrew Luck. And that started a shitstorm.
Cascade is
Yes.
the word.
So these are just a few examples. Torrey Smith, former Raven, former Eagle, I think current Panther, right?
Nah, he might be out the league.
No, he's somewhere. He said,
He's still stealing money.
yeah.
Oh,
He's in Carolina.
He said, you stole credit cards because working was too hard. Then you just have a random regular Twitter follower said, lacerate your kidneys often doing radio show, champ? ? And then even after the fact, addressing the boos that happened during the game when he was walking off, which if you look at his face, he was hurt. He was shook. That shit really, I mean, like, if he's internalizing it like, damn, I really literally gave up my body for you motherfuckers and you're booing me. Doug Baldwin, who knows all too well about all of this shit,
Man,
said, how dare Luck not sacrifice his body for my entertainment? Who cares if your shoulder is too messed up to pick up your child? Who cares if your knees are too messed up to play with your kids? Who cares about the quality of your life? What about the quality of my Sundays? So
The
then,
same way he responded to my interview question, he typed that shit and did not blink.
absolutely.
Like, whoa,
Burn a hole through his phone.
But the biggest response that we've seen so far came from one three-time
Cowboy Troy.
three-time Super Bowl champion, Troy Aikman, who, by the way, will get into it with some media motherfuckers. Ask Skip Bayless.
He's still looking for Skip.
I bet you they ain't seen each other in 15 years in person.
And they're in the same city.
Yeah. That's total bullshit, Doug. What qualifies you to decide how someone should live their life? So you're now the authority on what motivates Andrew Luck. And if his decision doesn't fit what you think is best for him, then you rip him. Guess that makes you employed. I guess that keeps you employed on FS1. Nice. So then everybody, I know everyone's seen the meme where the dude's rapping and he's shaking his shoulders and everybody go crazy. That's basically what happened when Troy dropped this. Dude, Charles Broccoli, just a regular random Twitter person.
Shout out to Charles.
Troy's life goals: 1, be an All-American quarterback. Check. Get drafted in the first round. Check. Win a bunch of Super Bowls. Check. D-ball and soul crush Doug Gottlieb for being a sanctimonious jerk. Check. Bask in the afterglow of new fans. Check. And then the last body to drop, someone just said, well, y'all want to see a dead body?
Is he dead?
And then they posted the pic from Boys in the Hood with Dougie superimposed in the body. Rest in peace, sir. But before we move on, did anyone see that bullshit-ass response to this shit over the weekend that he did yesterday?
No.
He basically doubled
I
down
couldn't
on all
bring
that
myself
shit.
to watch it.
It's terrible.
Well, that's kind of the rules of social media. Is if it's not something that's so bad, you just double down on it.
You either go, I think those are your two options, right? You either go away
Yep.
or you double down.
Yep.
Lean into it, baby.
He leaned all the way into that shit.
Troy Aikman, let me just say, he looks like somebody that would, like, if you got into it with Troy, he looked like he'd take his belt off and he had one of those thick cowboy belts and he'd just whip you with it.
You know, Cromartie was on, what's his name, in the morning, he talks a lot.
Stephen A. Smith?
No, FS1.
Colin
Nick
Coward.
Wright?
Yes, Colin.
We could have kept going.
Yeah, we could have kept going.
He looks back to a certain extent, but he said that I think he said a lot of the problem is in the NFL, you retire either before the season or after the season. Once you into it, you letting down your teammates. That was the one thing he said. Where now the fans, that was some bullshit. They ain't got no right to it. His teammates, he's saying, could feel a certain way about it.
Steve Berline kind of had the same sort of thing. He was a little bit over the top, and it's like, really, Steve? You were a backup quarterback for 20 years.
37. But do we know when that calf injury happened? Did it happen during camp? Because then
No, April.
Yep.
He was working.
He's trying to get back.
He was working. He was working out in April, and it just never went away. And it was very similar to the shoulder injury. Now, granted, he got rocked for 16 games in 2015,
He used to try and play like a
2016.
running back.
Right.
Or-
but the calf injury, it never, and you know, it's funny when you watch his, it was a little bit, it was difficult to watch his press conference because
He was emotional.
the word that just was ringing in my ear was pain. This brother was in pain.
And he was sick of it.
And he was sick of the pain.
And let's talk about how his organization didn't do him any favors and to stop him from being in pain.
Right.
Until it was too late.
That's-
Ryan
that's a
Grigson.
rabbit hole.
Ryan Grigson.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
That's
and-
why they let him keep that money.
Yeah.
For real. And what's crazy is Detroit asked for the $1 million back from Calvin Johnson,
And he had to pay it back.
and he had to pay it back.
From what I
That's
understand,
why
it's
they-
based on the organization whether they
Yeah,
Oh, no shit.
yeah. But now you know why Detroit is trash.
they had.
I
Can,
know.
can y'all imagine this happening 10, 15 years ago where players just like, a week and a half before the season starts like, nah, I can't do it. And how people then would have like not been on this whole, well, good for him, he should care about his health kind of wave. People would be calling him all kinds of stuff and bashing him, saying, how could he do Indianapolis like that? Like, I mean, it's great that we are in this time now and people can really, be concerned about another human being. But
Right.
we were really trash.
You know why?
Tell
You know
the
why?
truth.
Because fuck Indianapolis with an AIDS dick.
Jesus.
All
Lord.
right.
Hey.
Slug
feel
also
bad
wanted
for
to
him,
point
brother.
out that he was hurt every odd year. And he's been tracking this for some reason.
He really has. Well, shit, if you get sacked 100 times the first 3 years of your career, this shit was kind of coming.
Yeah.
Anyone that is struggling with acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or if you have loved ones that are struggling with the acquired immune deficiency syndrome, we just want to say sorry. With that, we're going to move into football T. Our version
You could have
of-
just not said anything and they would have let it go.
Yeah.
No,
That was better.
It stayed out there. Our version of hot topics. Let's focus on injuries. Staying with the Andrew Luck theme, injuries. Cam Newton, preseason game, and I mean, I feel like this is a theme every preseason.
Aunt Cammy.
Not just Cammy, but just in
Grandma
general.
Cammy.
And it's in
Thank you.
yeah.
Always got her crown on.
He just shot Granny crown off.
There's always this conversation around, the preseason. Should we have it? Is it too long? And, it seems like the conversation has been amplified even more. This particular preseason, Cam Newton, game 3, week 3 of the preseason, he rolled his foot up. He has a mid-foot sprain, which is dangerous. Just going to say it. And although Ron Rivera is saying that for sure he's going to be out there week 1, the question I have for you guys is Cam Newton, is he staring at the backside of his career, guys? Is he seeing a little bit of mortality here?
What year is this?
Kev? Redo?
Yes. My bigger concern, yes, although, yes, he is getting in the latter stages. I was more so concerned of the way he got hurt. If anybody saw the play, it was a busted play. He's back in the pocket, pirouetting and spinning. And, that's great in, like, week 4 of the regular season. But you're in a game that doesn't mean shit. And you could have just deaded the ball, thrown out of bounds. I mean, that's how Tom Brady is playing at 56 years old, because when it ain't there, he gets rid of it. Live to see another down. Cam was trying to make a miraculous play
In
in
preseason.
the middle of August and got hurt.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if Andrew Luck didn't teach anyone anything, it's at this point, you should be taking better care of your body, making better decisions, especially in games that don't matter.
And the thing is, I could understand if he didn't have an injury history. But he's not only does he have an injury history, but he's a veteran. He don't need these damn games. He's getting enough reps in practice.
I think they wanted to see if that shoulder held up in real time. I mean, I don't know why he was out there.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that's
Doing
the,
extras.
that's the
That
only
was
thing I
problem.
can think of.
Should Carolina be concerned?
Yes.
Yeah, they got one more year in that contract. So then it's time, you got to figure it out. Fuck a
I
wall.
guarantee
He's
you they draft a
entering
quarterback this
season
offseason.
9.
Sources, or not sources, but outside of the blood clots that David Andrews, I believe the center for the New England Patriots, is experiencing, I think the biggest injury that's happened thus far in the preseason just happened this past weekend to Houston Texans running back Lamar Miller. He definitely popped an ACL. His season is over before it begins. He is young-ish. He's under 30. But more importantly, he is coming into unrestricted free agency 2020. He's an unrestricted free agent. He plays a position that is not the most valuable in the NFL. Who's taking the bigger hit, Lamar Miller or the Houston Texans?
Lamar is. Because they have, what's his name?
Duke Johnson. That's not enough.
But it's, again.
So I asked the question again, Junior Blue. Who's taking the bigger hit?
They can draft somebody, and there are the running back depth in the league is deep right now. Like Eagles have got like 25 running backs right now. Like
got 17.
You can trade and get a running back.
Doug Martin is free,
and they can.
Oh God.
But it's his mama.
We know you know.
I was about to say the same thing. But he's gonna lose millions, or even if it's just $1 million or $2 million, whatever, that money's gone.
So that AIDS comment is worse than that. Okay, let's keep going. I'm sorry.
We know her.
Do you hear what he said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We know. Junior, Kev.
Yeah, I definitely feel bad for Lamar Miller. I mean, he's coming off a Pro Bowl season, which doesn't mean much nowadays. It's been a great season. And to Omar's point, they do have 5, including Duke Johnson, they have 5 other running backs on their roster. So of any position in the NFL, to lose a guy, and if you have some type of depth, you can find a diamond in the rough. Hopefully they can. But, to your point, we're not valuing running backs the way we used to. But with Houston, I mean, hey, I think they would trade Andrew Luck getting the fuck out of the AFC North. For Lamar Miller.
Straight up.
One less team they got to compete against.
Yikes. Bigger hit real quick. Lamar Miller's injury to the Texans. Derwin James's injury. He's on IR. He's going to be out for sure for 3 months to the Chargers. Tavon Young, slot corner for the Ravens. Bigger injury hit. Junior Blue.
There is no replacing Mr. James.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Derwin is a hit.
Yeah.
Let's move to the AFC East. Let's start with the New England Patriots. Starting safety Patrick Chung was indicted over the weekend. Surprisingly, came out of nowhere. Guess what? Oh, I've got an indictment for cocaine in New Hampshire. All right, Patrick Chung. We got Josh Gordon. We got Aaron Hernandez. What's the Patriots' problem with dope fiends? Anybody want to take a stab at that one?
It's cold in New England.
What else you gonna do?
No, I think it has to. They're the Statue of Liberty of the NFL. Give us you're poor, you're weak, you're tired. They
drafted Patrick Chung and they drafted Aaron Hernandez.
No, but they don't give a fuck about red flags if you can play because Bill is good enough to make it work. Sometimes people murder 3 people and sometimes they sniff cocaine. I mean, that's the kind of trade-off for winning 6 Super Bowls.
I get it.
Yeah, they're used to the snow up in the
Snowfall, baby.
It's nothing new.
All right, let's go down south to the Miami Dolphins. And we'll lightly touch on the Brian Flores, Kenny Stills dynamic because there's something there, but there's a larger conversation here. Mr. Flores is really, I'm hearing his voice a lot. I've heard his voice a lot in this offseason. He's doing a lot of talking. He's giving us the play-by-play of the quarterback situation. We know Miami's tanking. That's not a secret. But we'll start here. Brian Flores, Kenny Stills. So Kenny Stills, going back to the JayZ conversation, one of those outspoken players, he along with Eric Reed, in terms of the relationship, the newfound relationship between JayZ, our Rock Nation, and the NFL. So after the press conference, coming in the next day, Mr. Flores, it's a trend for coaches to play music in practice. He played 8 straight JayZ songs. Mm-hmm. Now, in our culture right now, we would just automatically say, well, he was trolling him. Mm-hmm. And then this became a big story for the Dolphins. Brian Flores, is he going about things the right way, guys?
He going about it his way. I can't tell you if it's right or wrong, but it's his way.
I will say this. I'm not mad at Brian Flores for taking control of his team. If you want to like we were talking about picking sides. But Brian Flores just got a job. And Kenny Stills, and you gotta know the owner of the Dolphins is hot at Kenny Stills.
Which one?
The one that matters. Because he's still losing money. Equinox is losing memberships on the daily. So you got to think he is hot at Kenny Stills, and the shit rolls downhill. And he's new here. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't done a thing. He has to figure out a way to save that locker room and also protect his players and also protect his job and also win at the same time. That is a hard position for any coach, let alone a coach who is as dark as he is, if that's the right word. Because he's not. Wait, what is he? Spanish?
I would
color.
say if winning is his accomplishment this year, it's not going to happen. And you definitely, knowing you're going to have a terrible team, to go about it this way he's just not off on a good start. And then on top of that, the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick is winning your quarterback battle in camp. To add this kind of motivation, he want to call it, to a player, and then knowing Kenny Stills has this rightful issue with the owner and he's kind of playing the middle ground. I understand that's the responsibility of a coach, but it's not looking good for you, brother.
Let's get out of here on this. Came out today, and I think we all kind of saw this coming. You know, a couple of months ago, it was like, oh, the players and the owners, they're getting along. There's a lot of incentive to come to an agreement because the collective bargaining agreement expires in 2020. The economy is getting ready to turn. Everybody wants to be on the same page and keep it going. And now it's reported today that the owners are starting to put their foot down a little bit more firmly, and they are pushing for expanding the regular season, adding more to the season. And I think the trade-off here would be, logically, they would decrease the preseason. So the options that are being put out there are make it an 18-game regular season, at least move it to 17 games, or simply just adding an extra round in the playoffs. As fans, do you want to see more football games, Kev?
No, not more games at the expense of the quality of football. This is just the NFL owners being greedy, not giving a fuck about the players. If they're not going to increase their guaranteed contracts or their piece of the pie, this is a terrible move as far as the players are concerned.
That's the only way they're going to get what they want, because they're both on these ends. And I think the NFL will get what they want, but I think there will be a negotiation about it. Like maybe you add extra playoff games where they can recoup that money.
But not everyone benefits from that.
Nope.
Yeah, but there has to be some sort of medium, some sort of meeting in the middle, and then the players will get a bigger piece of the pie, a la NBA, where they're a true partnership.
Dad?
As long as DeMaurice Smith is heading up these negotiations, we know what this movie and how this movie ends.
Junior Blue.
DeMaurice.
I don't want to see 18 games, especially when they were talking about the players would be capped at like 16 games. So you wouldn't even be seeing, like, let's say Tom Brady for 18 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. If you do an extra round of playoffs, that would be better. But like you said, that doesn't benefit all the owners, and that's what they want to do.
All right, gentlemen, let's raise our glasses. This is season 4 of 32 Kings Row. We've got a great season ahead. Next week is our 2019-2020 NFL season preview. We've got some moments in Hendeg. We're going to talk about some Raiders. We're going to talk about some Bears, some Carolina Bucks, Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Bucks, Kansas City Chiefs. And we've got more new segments coming. Once again, follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Check out our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. We will see you next week. Cheerio.
We busted in, we broke down the door, we came to win. TLA season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.